I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, February the 1st already. Brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. Regular Monday feeder cattle auction here on Monday starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. Going to sleep in just a little bit with a lighter run of 5,000 head on offer. That's what their expectations are. They'll have their regular cow and bull auction on Wednesday and then a primetime video sale this Thursday, February the 4th. And don't forget, they got a special cow and bull sale on February the 19th, so keep that in mind. Revisions. That's the whole story about the cattle inventory report. You know, the previous week ago Friday, we had the cattle on feed report. It turned out to be more bearish than what we thought. Then this past Friday, we had the cattle inventory report, the big one that comes out there at the end of January. They'll have a mid-year too, but it's not quite as important. But the big cattle inventory report come out now, and I told you this on the last visit. It doesn't hinge quite so much on your average of your analyst's guess. It's not as bad as your cattle on feed report. They basically just want to see what it says. It's not as important that the analysts nail it. But it's darn hard to try to put expectations out there whenever the USDA just arbitrarily does revisions. So they move the goalposts before you even get to see what the report is. But the report come out not as friendly or not as light in numbers as what we thought. And I'll show you that. But if you look at the revisions that they put on from 2019, then it was even more bullish or more friendly than what we thought. So you just take that however you want to. But your total number of cattle and calves out there, 93.6 million head. The estimations were for 94.4, and you think, oh my gosh, that's really bullish, that's really friendly. Well, it is after you take into account the revisions. But if you just look at what your numbers were compared to a year ago, which they changed in the revisions, but cattle and calves 99.8%, so only down 0.2%. Well, your expectations were to be down 0.3%, so we didn't quite meet that. Your total cows, 99.8 is what it come out to be, so that was also down 2%. Well, your expectations were to be down 0.8%, so we didn't quite meet that. Beef cows, we were expecting, or what it actually come out to be was 99.4%, so that was down 6. Well, we were expecting it to be down 1.3. So you put your calf crop ended up being 98.7, down 1.3. It was actually, it come out to be 130, or come out to be 35.135 million calves for your calf crop. Well, and they revised the 2019 data. So they went back in there. I think what they really did is they screwed up bad 2 years ago when we had all the flooding and everything that went out there. They did not take into account how many calves we lost. And everybody has been screaming about that ever since then. And to boot, with all the calves that we lost, a lot of those cows ended up not being in good shape. It hurt them, it pulled them down. They ended up hauling those cows off at a later time. They may not have lost them right during that flood, and they may not have hauled them off right there that spring, but they probably went ahead and let them go ahead and graze and gain some weight, and then they sold them there late in the summer or in the early fall. But regardless, they've missed it. So they went back in on the 2019 calf crop and revised it down almost 500,000 head. Well, my gosh, whenever you do that, how are we supposed to meet up with the expectations that we had? But, we ended up all cattle and calves for 2019. They dialed it back 620,000 head. My goodness. So anyway, it gets very confusing when you do that. But what I'm trying to say is your cattle inventory report actually come out more friendly, more bullish, if you want to say it that way, than what we thought. but it's hard to see just on the face value of it because they had actually revised it down before they even give the starting number to compare this last one to. So the numbers are good. We've got a lot smaller herd than what we thought. Our numbers of market-ready cattle are going to be waning down as we go here towards the end of this first quarter, and then there's going to be less cattle to put on feed. And it's going to be bullish here for probably the next 3 years or so. So they didn't keep as many, replacement heifers as what maybe they should too. But likely because we didn't know how light we were on numbers. So it may end up causing us to be, lighter on supplies for a little bit longer. You know, it's not like a hog report where you got 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, and you can have more pigs and you got litters of them. No, you got to keep one back. You've got to, you got to have her be pregnant for 9 months, and then you got to have the calf. So likely we're in good supply situation. I mean, lighter supplies, not too heavy, for the next 3 years or so. So that's a good thing. What else happened this past week? Well, our new King Biden, he's now suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome, is what we've heard from signing everything that's been shoved across his desk. Not that he has any idea what it is, what the ramifications are, but I mean, he is turning this country upside down. I mean, everything from letting boys compete with girls on an even playing field, to costing this country tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs just immediately. Canceling the pipeline and doing all this stuff. I don't know how fast he thinks that those certified pipeliners can start putting together little solar panels and things like that and make the kind of money that they was making before, but it's unbelievable. You guys know this, but I tell you what, King Biden is a fool, and he's got people shoving stuff in front of him and just nodding yes, and he just grins and signs and reads the teleprompter the best he can. But he's trying to do exactly what they say before the evil Queen Harris comes in there and boots him out, which is only a matter of time, guys. So the first time that he doesn't do exactly what they tell him to do, they'll boot him out. They'll say he's failing and go on about that. We'll never know the truth, just like we've never known the truth about what's been going on for the past 6 months or a year. They treat us like mushrooms here, and we just have no way of knowing what the hell's going on. But I want to go ahead and talk about your feeder cattle and live cattle futures for last week. February live cattle futures through the week. Monday was down 20, Tuesday up 47, Wednesday down 55, Thursday down 45, and Friday down 95. Down pretty hard, guys, with February live cattle ending the week at 115.05. And it came down hard. Your fat cattle came up, and now your basis is not all that big as we were looking at it just a week ago. Your feeder cattle, February live cattle futures ended the week at 115.05. Now April ended at 121.85. March feeder cattle, Monday was down 30, Tuesday down 237, Wednesday down $1.40, Thursday down 27, Friday down 207. Pretty darn significant losses there, especially when you looked at a week ago Friday, it was up the $5 limit there. So, but your March feeder cattle ended up 137.72, far cry from where it was at. April ended up at 140.75. Your grains, they ended up, they've been jostling back and forth. We thought they'd kind of settle down, but our March corn is sitting at 547, and beans sitting at 1370. So both back up there at some of those lofty areas there. Your January feeder cattle contract went off the board at 135.70. So we're still working with a March contract that's a little bit of a premium to what we had, but not nearly as much as what it was before. fat cattle trade, it was very slow to get going. And as far as what we have confirmed, they're way behind, guys. But through Thursday, only 17,400 head. We did have a fairly significant trade on Friday, but like I said, as far as the confirmed sales, going to be kind of a light week, and I expect it to be fairly light, even though I don't think they have all the sales that happened in the confirmed sales for last week. But live sales of steers and heifers range from 110 to 113. That was $1 to $2 higher just on the face of the spread. Most of your prices were 112, and then the Southern Plains ended up being all 113 and some 113 live in the Northern Plains also. So did have a higher market, even though our board was down pretty hard. It had to be down to close that gap, like I said a while ago, but still higher market, higher fat cattle market. Don't get down in the dumps about it. Your weighted average price on live steers, $111.47. That's about two bucks higher for the week, so not too bad. Dress sales steers and heifers, $173 to $178. That's $2 to $4 higher. Weighted average on dress steers, $175.76. That's through Thursday. That's going to be higher whenever we come out here on the first part of the week, because we had more 178. We even had some sprinkling higher than that, up above 180 on Friday. So it's going to be higher than that. All those weighted averages are going to be higher, but a pretty good market there, whenever we're working with futures that are that much lower. Let's look at your trade that happened on Friday. Iowa had 4,600 confirmed on Friday. Still only 16,600 head there for the week. Now your price ranges live 110 to 113, mostly 112. Dress sales 174 to 181, mostly 178. Your Nebraska sales, confirmed sales 10,900 head. Still under 13,000 for the week, and including those are all very light. Live sales 110 to 113, heavy on the 113. Dress sales 178, 179, mostly 178. Kansas, a couple thousands all confirmed, and 3,400 for the week. A lot more sales happened than that Friday afternoon, guys. We just don't have them confirmed there. Only 3,400 for the week. Your live sales spread 112 to mostly 113, and a few dress sales at 177. Texas 2,800 head, and that's only 4,800 head for the week. One thing that's significant that I want you guys to pay attention, and if you look at the reports it's that way, but I'm just going to tell you, every single quote that they had on Friday, and they had them in all different grades and classes out of Texas, fed cattle direct sales were at 113. 113 for steers, 113 for heifers, 113 for mixed bags pens of steers and heifers, 113 for off grades, 113 for junk, 113 for Mexicans, 113. And you guys get so particular buying those feeder cattle, giving, $10, $15, $20 a hundred more for the best ones. Whenever you get them done, they all bring the same, especially in the Southern Plains. Box beef cutout values, they were higher, and I mean $20 higher than they so far for the year. $20 higher for the month and for the year up to date. Your choice boxes, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 230.28. That's up 11.19 on your weighted average compared to the previous week's weighted average, and that's not nearly as high as it ended the week at almost 234. So they've just been gaining ground, and just fighting tooth and nail to keep from having to give another buck or two on fat cattle. Tell you what, they're just so disciplined. That's why they're so hard to deal with. Select quotes. The weighted average on all of last week's sales, 219.22. That was up 10.58. And like I said, $20 higher for the year, but not as high as your late week sales, which were $222.70 on Select. not moving a lot of product, but they don't really care. They've got contracts to fill. It doesn't really matter how much they move on the spot market because they're selling a lot of stuff out front, and they're still getting those quotes up there, those values up there. Only fit 528 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter for the week, like I said, ended up taking over year-ago figures by a bunch because we had a big Saturday of 62,000 head. 653,000 for the week last week. That's 4,000 off of the previous week, but 25,000 more than the same week a year ago. So let's talk about some of the other things that went on this last week. The big sale out in California, Red Bluff sale. They had big doings out there, and everybody I talked to was very pleased with what went on. You could watch the whole shebang on dvauction.com. Last Thursday they had the Western Video Market sale. It was great. I had a lot of program cattle on there that brought some, just big whopper type prices on there. And then on Friday they had the stock dogs and geldings, and then Saturday they had the bulls. I'll give you the averages on the production sales there. On Friday they had 17 of those trained stock dogs with an average price of $8,735 for those stock dogs. 42 geldings in the sale. They had a few that didn't end up making it in. 42 geldings. The average price on those geldings was $18,113. And then on Saturday, almost 300 bulls, 282 bulls, kind of a consignment deal there, with an average price on those bulls of $4,572. So everybody had a good time. Everybody was happy with what went on out there at Red Bluff, California, but had a heck of a good sale out there. It's the start of a new month here. I've got to give you a market of the month. Zach Tran Market of the Month. Somebody that's displayed one of the best competitive auction markets, sale barn markets over the past month, and it's going to be our market of the month for February going forward. We've had a lot of good ones. The one that I'm going to pick for this month is Ogallala Livestock Auction in Ogallala, Nebraska. Tell you what, all month long in January, starting out with your stock show specials. Even though they didn't have the stock show in Denver, they still had their stock show specials that they have every year. You know, for many, many years it was Dwayne Mays there making that sale go, and and everybody always liked Dwayne, one of the nicest guys you ever want to be around. Built one hell of a business there. He's recently turned that over to new owners. Jay Nordhausen and Lance Van Winkle, they're doing that, but he's still kind of around advising and field representing and things like that, and that's part of the deal. That's kind of the way they've been doing these big sale barn transitions whenever they change ownerships these days, as the old owner will usually hang around and make sure that they still get those big strings of cattle in there, make sure that the buyers keep coming, make sure that everything goes smooth and the transition is good. And that's the way you need to do that, because I'll tell you what, sale barns is one of the very, very hardest businesses that you can run. I've always said that. And I know it because I've tried to run one by myself. I tried to run one with my dad's help, and I've been around them all my life. But if you've got a hardware store, you know you're going to have hammers there to buy. You just need to get people to come buy them. If you've got a restaurant, you know you're going to have cheeseburgers there. You just got to get people to come eat them and pay for them. When you've got a sale barn, you've got to work both ends. You've got to work the consigners to bring the cattle in, get them in there, and then as hard as you've worked for those consigners, you've got to work just as hard to get buyers in there to competitively bid and bid those cattle up there to the market that you kind of promised your consigners that you would have. I tell you what, you got to work both ends, and you got to merchandise those cattle. You've got to do all of it. But Ogallala Livestock, I tell you what, over the last month has done such a great job there. And it looks like they're in good hands with the transition of ownership, and you guys out in western Nebraska have nothing to worry about as that sale barn has transferred ownership. And I want to congratulate them on being the Zach Tran Market of the Month from the Feeder Flash. How about, let's talk about your feeder market. Your real-time index on DV Auction ended the week at 137.54. Up $2.79 for the week. Pretty big gains, guys. Cash feeders in your sale barns from steady to $4 higher. We saw that in your high volume sales there early in the week, middle of the week, and then some of our highest quotes were at the end of the week. Now calves were very uneven depending on where you were at, the moisture levels, whether you had snowstorms or bad roads this past week, because that hampered the movement a little bit. If you've got some hard, kind of dried out, hard winter type calves, stocker types, they're selling very well. Some of the smaller, fat calves, not quite as well, and the ballers sure not very well, received right now, because most all your calves are long time weaned and bigger strings of them. So very uneven on your calf market. But and mostly a lot of those feeder cattle were calves also, but you're sure enough calves going right in on feed into the feedlot, selling from steady to $4 higher. Some of your biggest markets on Friday there. How about Burwell Livestock Market, Burwell, Nebraska? Big sale there, about 5,400 head of feeder cattle there. Look at some of your best tested weights of steers. 933 head of 6-weight steers, average 650 pounds at 153.96 on the average. 1,025 head of 7-weight steer calves, average 755, 142.33, and 833 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Burwell, Nebraska, average 852, 139.43. Those are better average quotes for all of them in that weight group on that automated report than a lot of your sales will have for individual top quotes. How about another big sale? Winter livestock auction, Winter, South Dakota, about 3,500 head of feeders there. Look at your best tested weights of steers. 904 there. Average, actually a tick better than what we saw in Burwell, guys. 904 head of steers in the 6-weight category, average 637, 155.08. 721 head of 7-weight feeder steers there, average 756 at 142.97. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on an individual quote on Friday come out of Burwell, Nebraska was 110 head, 618 pound steer calves, bring 166.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.